One more Longhorn is staying, one more Longhorn is going, and one we're not sure. The latest from a wild day for Texas in the portal coming up on Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're locked on to the Texas Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you, everydayers, for making Locked On Longhorns your first listen every single day. We're, of course, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, so please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving a comment, so thank y'all sincerely for that. We've got an update on Cam Coleman and some thoughts on Texas basketball's 0-2 start in SEC play. But first, we've got good news, we've got bad news, and we've got I'm not sure news for Texas football in the transfer portal. We'll start with the good because there hasn't been much of that this week. Really, two pieces of good news here, both involving the running back position. Texas has reportedly agreed to terms on a new deal for James Simon. Simon just wrapped up his first year on the 40, only played in 3 games as a true freshman, a 4-star recruit in that top-ranked class of 2025. 29 carries, 122 rushing yards this season. And Simon's last appearance came in the Red River Shootout, that victory over Oklahoma. We didn't see him at all after that. And, because of the fact that James Simon did not get a single carry in the Longhorns' Cheez-It Citrus Bowl win over Michigan, despite all of the opt-outs at the running back position, I was a bit nervous that maybe he would be bolting, just like so many other Longhorns have decided to bolt since the year ended. But hey, considering the fact that Texas has already lost 4 tailbacks to the portal this offseason, keeping a quality back like him there was much needed, and I'm excited to see. I thought he had a little spunk. I thought he had a little juice when we did see him play this year. Hopefully under the tutelage of Jabbar Jalouk, James Simon can continue to develop and be a part of the Longhorns running game moving forward. Speaking of the Texas running game, the other good piece of running back news, Arizona State transfer running back Raleek Brown made it to campus last night. The aforementioned Jabbar Jalouk had an in-home visit with Brown on Tuesday. That was followed up by a trip to Austin on Wednesday. The good news here, there's no former school in play like there was for Jaden Ball at Florida and Isaac Brown at Louisville. No relation for those two guys, by the way. So Texas is in a great spot. The Longhorns, the leader in the clubhouse for Raleek Brown. And it's starting to feel like a matter of when, not if, that Texas gets this done. I know a lot of y'all are a little bit hesitant to buy into reports considering the way things have gone throughout the course of this week, but I feel very good, and I think a lot of folks surrounding the program feel very good about Raleek Brown eventually putting pen to paper and playing his college football at Texas in 2026. We've spent a lot of time talking about him. We won't deep dive right here, but as a quick refresher, Raleek Brown, a very talented back, 1,100 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns at Arizona State in 2025. Also 34 catches for the Sun Devils as well. 4 years of college football, 2 years at USC, the last 2 at Arizona State. He is a home run hitter who provides some explosiveness that the Longhorn backfield just lacked this past season. So some good news there on the running back front. Now, to the bad news. Another Longhorn entered the portal late yesterday afternoon. Tight end Jordan Washington has announced that he is skipping town. 7 catches, 109 receiving yards, and a touchdown for Texas this year. Second amongst all tight ends on the Longhorn roster with all of those stats. But a big problem with J-Wash, the drops. 4 of them this year. And there were some big ones in there this season. This one is sad to me, not because Jordan Washington was some great player. Again, 7 catches in his 2 years on the 40 acres. I just feel like the Jordan Washington experiment was a total failure by the Texas coaching staff. Maybe Washington just wasn't good enough to play at this level. Maybe we'll never know that for sure. But I was pretty excited about him coming to Texas, high 4-star recruit out of high school. And we heard some good things about him during practice in his redshirt year in 2024. Didn't see much game action, but we heard behind the scenes that he was developing and had a chance to be a pretty integral part of the Texas offense in his redshirt year, or his redshirt freshman year, I should say. Here's where I think the screw up happened and why the coaching staff just totally botched this. When Jordan Washington arrived at campus, he weighed 225 pounds. In 2025, this season, he was closer to 265 pounds. I assume this wasn't a case of, a freshman 15 from Washington hitting the meal plan a little too hard or having too many cases at a late night munchies. By all accounts, this 40-pound increase was planned by Texas. I don't know if it was in an effort to keep him healthy over the course of a long season, an effort to make him a more reliable blocker with the extra weight. I don't know what the objective was. I just do know it didn't really work for Texas. Jordan Washington looked pretty slow. He didn't give you much as a blocker. He obviously had issues catching the football. That's a bad combination when you're looking for a quality tight end. And it didn't look like his body reacted well to the added weight. So I don't like the way Texas handled it. I'm not necessarily sure that if Washington was playing at 235 or 240, he would have been that much better. But it did not work. That plan to add 40 pounds to his frame over the course of just 1 year, not good. And Jordan Washington is taking his talents elsewhere. Now this Texas tight end room, obviously Jack Andrews is gone. He was your number 1 tight end in 2025. He's headed to the NFL. Jordan Washington, who was your number 2 tight end, at least in terms of receiving this year, is now gone. So you've got Nick Townsend coming back. Very excited about his future. Amari Winston coming back. The Longhorns added Michael Masunas from Michigan State out of the transfer portal. Spencer Shannon, Will Randall, and Charlie Gillick, the true freshman coming in. That's your room. So not a lot of proven commodities there. Curious to see if the Longhorns end up trying to sign one more transfer tight end to just add some more experience than what they have right now. That's the bad news. The last bit of news for this segment, the I'm not sure news here. Yesterday, it was reported that linebacker Bo Barnes was leaving Texas, and that came as a bit of a shock to everyone, myself included. Bo Barnes played well for Texas against Michigan a week ago. 4 tackles and a sack in the Longhorns' victory over the Wolverines. Bo Barnes finally got a chance to play. Of course, Anthony Hill, Trey Moore, Leon Galafau all opted out of that bowl game. So Barnes kind of got thrust into the starting lineup. We were all curious to see what he was going to look like in his first real action, and he did really well. A former top 50 recruit out of high school, one of the highest ranked linebackers in the class of 2025. It's a big time pull for Texas when they got him to sign. And then yesterday afternoon, we hear, because of NIL, Bo Barnes is leaving. Texas and Bo Barnes could not come to an agreement on a number. Barnes, wanting more money, wanting more opportunities, decided to hit the portal, and it sounded like, all right, that ship has sailed, and that's the end of that. Well, last night, it was reported that Will Muschamp and the Texas coaching staff were meeting with Bo Barnes in an effort to change his mind to convince him to not enter the portal. To this point, Bo Barnes is not officially in the portal. It's just reported that he is planning to enter, but his name has not yet showed up in the NCAA transfer portal. So until that happens, maybe there's still a glimmer of hope. Heck, Derek Williams Jr. was already in the portal, and he ended up withdrawing to come back to Texas. So even if Bo Barnes' name does pop up, there's still time. But again, it's better if he doesn't enter the portal altogether and Texas can convince him to stay. Because I don't know who's playing linebacker outside of Anthony Smith if Bo Barnes is leaving. Now, I do believe the Longhorns are in the market for 1, probably 2 linebackers in the portal, and I think that's regardless of what happens to Bo Barnes. But again, former top 50 recruit, a guy who showed me something. I think he has a very bright future at Texas. I'm excited to see what he can do with Coach Boom and the Longhorn defense. I hope they are able to find a way to convince him to stick around. Texas needs some good news at linebacker. They are losing a ton in that room. Keeping Bo Barnes, again, I know he didn't play much this year. Only appeared in 3 games in the regular season, plus the bowl game. Only had 4 total tackles all year. Usually you aren't bending over backwards to try to keep that guy around. But with all that Texas is losing and just with the lack of bodies that they have, and they haven't recruited that room all that well in recent years, almost feels like they need Bo Barnes a lot more than some of these other freshmen who are considering departing or have already announced that they are departing. So hopefully, and maybe by the time y'all are watching or listening to this episode, we already get that positive update for Bo Barnes. But I am hopeful that he does tough it out and the two sides can reach an agreement. Because again, I think he is needed for Texas in 2026, but also I think he can be a key piece in 2027 and maybe 2028 as well. So there you go. Some good news, some bad news, some I'm not sure news. The roller coaster ride of the transfer portal continues for Longhorn fans everywhere. All right, speaking of the transfer portal, speaking of roller coaster, maybe it's my UTSD kicking in. I'm not feeling great about Cam Coleman ending up in Austin, and something happened yesterday that has me very worried. I'll tell you what it is next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all of your money actually goes each and every month. It's easy to feel like you are losing control. And who has time to track down every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? You don't have to do that because that's where Rocket Money comes in. This is a personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors all of your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I think the best part of Rocket Money and my favorite part of Rocket Money is how it tracks all of my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. I don't have to call customer service numbers. I don't have to send a bunch of emails that don't get replied to. I can do everything right in the app, and so can you. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster here in the new year. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. One more time, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. All right, welcome back. Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Friendly reminder about the Locked On Everydayer Club. Another great way to support what we're building while also giving you, yes, you, access to a number of exclusive perks. You join the Everydayer Club and you're going to get Locked On Longhorns podcast ad-free with no interruption, plus members-only Discord access and so much more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonlonghorns.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. We're all still awaiting to find out the winner of the Cam Coleman sweepstakes. The top-ranked player in the portal has now taken visits to Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech, all in that order. Alabama is still trying to get a visit, although I'm not sure the news of Ty Simpson declaring for the NFL draft helps their chances all that much. I feel like Bama is a pretty distant fourth in this recruitment, but maybe I'm off on that. USC was involved for a while, but reports state that the Trojans are no longer in play. Whether that was their decision or Cam Coleman's decision, I'm not sure. I don't really think it matters to us. I'm not sure I've ever seen a recruitment like this. No, I'm not talking about one with 3 to 4 teams in the mix. That happens all the time. I'm not even talking about one with 3 Texas teams in the mix. I mean, the Horns, the Ags, the Red Raiders, they've been duking it out on the recruiting trail forever. This is nothing new. I mean, that I'm not sure that I've seen a high-profile recruitment where fans and insiders of all 3 teams feel confident that they're going to land the recruit. And check any Texas site, any Aggie site, any Red Raider site, or just open up Twitter. Like, everyone believes that Cam Coleman is going to choose their favorite school. And I guess you have to credit Cam and his team for keeping their cards close to their vest. While a number of tight end Texas people still like the Longhorns' chances, something happened yesterday that has me terrified that Cam Coleman will be playing his college football somewhere else in 2026. What was it, you ask? Cam Coleman visiting Lubbock. Not that Lubbock is some sort of destination city or anything close to that. You ever been there? It's cold, windy, flat, dusty. It constantly smells like cow manure. Not a combination I'm looking for, and not quite a place where people typically dream of spending a precious year of their life. But with the way Texas Tech has handled the NIL era, you get terrified anytime that they're interested in a player that your favorite team wants. Coleman originally had a visit scheduled for Texas Tech on Tuesday, And when it was reported that it was getting pushed back, I let myself get a little excited. Maybe Texas Tech is out. Maybe there's nothing to worry about here. Maybe it's just Texas and A&M in this battle. Well, the lie detector determined that that was a lie because Coleman just pushed back his visit one day and was on the campus of Texas Tech University on Wednesday. The Red Raiders seemingly have an unlimited amount of cash, money hidden in banana stands, oil rigs, and everything in between, and they have not been afraid to spend it. They bought in. I didn't mean to say that, but that's what happened. They bought and brought in the number one portal class in the country last year. They're already top 3 this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up topping the charts again here in 2026. Cam Coleman would obviously help them do that. Texas Tech knows that they scored 0 points in their first ever playoff game. I mean, they got flat out embarrassed in maybe their biggest game in program history. I enjoyed watching it. A lot of Tech haters enjoyed watching it. They didn't. They don't want that to happen again. Cam Coleman would obviously help prevent that from happening again. Now, if you believe the reports out there, you believe that money isn't the top priority for Cam Coleman in this search. If you're like me, you're probably skeptical of that. Now, I do think if the offers were identical or even very similar, money wouldn't be what tips the scales. But if Texas Tech offers $1 million more than Texas or Texas A&M, then get ready to learn Wreckham, buddy. I fully expect Cam Coleman to end up at Texas Tech. I mean, Tech already spent $5 million on a portal quarterback. For a lot of teams, if you're spending that much money on another player, it's, you know what, we're out. That's all we can afford. Not the case with Texas Tech. And while I don't think Brendan Sorsby is as good as Arch Manning, he's good enough for Cam Coleman to put up numbers with. And considering what he did with Peyton Thorne and Jackson Arnold these last 2 seasons at Auburn, I think he'd do just fine with Sorsby. He's better than both of those two guys. And not only will he do fine with Sorsby, but he'll do fine with an extra $1 million in his pocket. Some of the numbers being thrown around for Cam Coleman right now are crazy. 2.5, 3. I've heard 3.3 million being tossed around right now. For Texas Tech, it may be 3.5 or 4 when it's all said and done. Longhorn fans are confident. Aggie fans are confident. Red Raider fans are confident. I'm confident that Texas Tech will be the highest bidder, and I'm also confident that I am terrified by that. Maybe it's my UTSD kicking in because of the way things have gone for the Horns in the portal thus far. Hopefully it's just that. And all of this transfer misery is really just leading us to a happy ending with Cam Coleman committing and signing with Texas. We will see. But again, back in the day, if it was Texas and Texas Tech recruiting the same player, you didn't have to worry too much about the Red Raiders. Nowadays, the game has changed. Texas Tech can spend with the best of them. They've been spending more than just about anybody else. And I wouldn't be surprised if they outbid everybody for Cam Coleman, which, again, this recruiting cycle has already hurt for Texas. Cam Coleman ends up in Lubbock. I mean, at this point, if he ends up anywhere else, it'd be a disaster. And I guess you prefer Texas Tech over Texas A&M because, you know, the Horns don't play Tech anymore. But, man, that would really sting. It would twist the knife even more for what has been a brutal first week of the transfer portal. What say you? What's your confidence level in Cam Coleman ending up in Austin? Are you like me? Are you worried about Texas Tech? Are you worried about A&M? Hopefully we get some good news. I think we're going to learn something by the end of the week. Hopefully it's what we want to hear. All right, one segment to go on a Thursday show. Texas basketball is an absolute mess right now, and Sean Miller knows it. A little Texas hoops chatter coming your way next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Wanted to mention this right here. Our thoughts and prayers are with Jordan Shipley and the entire Shipley family. I'm sure most of you have heard this by now, but Jordan suffered an injury on his ranch a couple of days ago, had to be care flighted to Austin for surgery. For fear of any updates that happen between the time I record this and the time that you're listening or watching this, I won't try to provide the latest here. But I just wanted to mention that I'm thinking about Jordan. We're thinking about Jordan. And I've gotten to meet Jordan Shipley a couple of times. A great guy, obviously a Longhorn legend, just a great ambassador for Texas football and really the entire University of Texas. So I know all of us are hoping and praying for a full recovery, but scary, scary situation for Jordan. And again, hoping and praying for the best for him and his family. Horns up to the Shipleys. All right. Let's talk a little Texas basketball here, if you'll allow me. We haven't talked a lot of Horns hoops on this show recently because there's been so much going on with the football calendar, from the regular season to the bowl game to signing day to now the transfer portal and the coaching staff changes. And it's been a lot with football. But the Horns are now into conference play, so it feels like a good time to check in. Unfortunately, things are looking very bleak for year one of the Sean Miller era, to say the least. And Coach Miller knows it too, and he has been very open about his frustrations with his squad. We've got 2 press conference clips today that paint that picture. The first one came from his post-game presser following the Longhorns' SEC opening loss to Mississippi State in overtime this past Saturday. There's a good chance y'all have heard this or at least seen this quoted, but Sean Miller went viral for this one, talking about some of the low IQ plays that he's seen from his basketball team this season. Check it out.
I think I told you guys, like a disciplined team, disciplined players, coached by a disciplined coach and environment and staff. And we have to coach those guys better in those areas. Now, if I tell you not to cross the street, and I keep telling you, and I say, I swear, whatever you do not cross the street. And you do, and the bus hits you. I'm going to take responsibility as your parent. But damn it, how many times do I have to tell you not to cross the street? We got some of that going on.
Do not cross the street, says Sean Miller. Kind of comical, and it went viral, but it was also a little refreshing for a coach to talk like that. Look, at the end of the day, the head coach is always going to be held accountable. That's how this industry works. Coaches get too much credit when things go well. Coaches get too much blame when they don't. It's the nature of the business, and Sean Miller has been in the business long enough to know that. So his feet are always going to be held to the fire. That's just how it works. But the players, these aren't student athletes anymore. They're professionals. They're making a lot of money. So I am cool with the head coach expecting more from them and holding their feet to the fire if they're not doing their job. I don't want a coach to come here and coddle. I want a coach to come here and coach. So that was one clip from Sean Miller. Some people liked it. Some people hated it. I was okay with it. And yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Another quote from Coach Miller. This one from the post-game press conference following the Horns' loss to Rick Barnes in Tennessee the other night. Texas was really never competitive in this one. The Mississippi State game went to overtime. The Horns had a 7-point lead with 2 minutes to go. They blew it. Dalen Swain fouling out didn't help. They were in that game. They were not really in the game at Tennessee. The Horns trailed by 15 at halftime. They never cut the deficit to single digits in the second half. And Sean Miller made some changes in his lineup at about the 14-minute mark in the second half. Starters like Jordan Pope, Modest Vokatitis, Dalen Swain, they all sat out for the last 14 minutes of the game. And ironically, it was those 14 minutes where the Horns played their best ball. Here's the coach talking about his team's effort and why some of those lineup changes happened.
But we have to establish that I'm playing for the University of Texas. I play for Sean Miller. He's the coach. What he says goes. This is how we do it. I play for myself. I play for my teammates. Mostly, I'm caught up in the moment. Like I'm playing a game I love, and I'm going to play as fast and as hard as I can. If you can't play with effort, it's going to be a very, very hard next couple months. And I think you'll see that, our lineup has to change. I can't keep playing the certain guys. We're at that point where we're just going to have to go, whoever is ready to play hard, we have to go with them because that's going to be our best bet.
So Sean Miller calling out his team's effort following that game against the fake UT the other night. I mean, he's not holding back. He's not pulling any punches here. He's saying what he feels, and he's clearly trying to establish a culture, and I'm here for it. I mean, this year stinks. It already stinks. It's going to continue to stink, and I hate it, but I've accepted it already. And if you, the Texas fan, tuned in right now, thank you very much for tuning in right now. If you want to punt until 2027, I don't blame you because it's going to be a rough SEC slate. And the next two games for the Longhorns, they're at Alabama, and then they host Vanderbilt. Two top 20 teams, two of the best teams in the league, two teams that are better than Texas right now. So the Horns are already 0-2 in conference play. They might be 0-4 the next time we do a segment on Texas basketball. So if you want to scrap this season and say, show me what you could do in year two, then that's fine. My only ask for you is you give this coaching staff a chance. If we fired coaches after year one, Steve Sarkisian would have gotten the axe after 5-7 in 2021. I mean, Texas had a 6-game losing streak, their longest losing streak in more than half a century that year. If we fired Sark, Texas wouldn't have won the Big 12 title in 2023. They wouldn't have 2 trips to the college football playoff. They wouldn't have Arch Manning. We wouldn't have a lot of great things to be talking about. I know this week hasn't gone great, but the Steve Sarkisian era has been overwhelmingly positive. And thankfully, Texas stayed the course after a disappointing year one. Not everybody's Jim Schlossnagle. We would love for everybody to do what Schloss did and win the SEC in their first year. But you got to remember the situation that Sean Miller walked into. I mean, Texas couldn't even field a starting 5 when Sean Miller took over. They only had 4 scholarship players coming back, and Sean Miller had to try to convince them to come back. And I don't know how much he really wanted those guys, but he just knew he had to retain some of what he had so he didn't have to completely start from scratch on building a roster. And let's face it, the NIL investment in Texas basketball is not close to what it is in Texas football or even Texas baseball. Like Mississippi State, the team that Texas lost to over the weekend, they spend more money in NIL on basketball than Texas does. That tells you anything. So, look, at some point, Sean Miller's got to win. Look at Indiana football. I don't think they had a ton of investment when Kurt Cignetti got there. They started to win. Now they've got a ton of people donating a bunch of money to keep them good. Sean Miller's got to find a way to get people bought back into the program so they actually buy things to make the program better. I'm confident that it'll work, but you got to give him time. You got to give him time. It's a bad year. It's a disappointing year. It's gone worse than I thought. This is not an NCAA tournament team. And again, you have my permission, not that you needed it, to punt to 2027. But for the record, I won't be punting. I'll be watching. We'll be talking about this team from time to time. I do respect Sean Miller, and I like that he's calling his team out, and he's setting a culture here at Texas of effort, of intensity, of high IQ. He knows what he wants. He's been doing this at a high level for a long, long time. He's not getting it at Texas right now. Hopefully this works and the Longhorns can turn things around. If not, it's going to be a long, long rest of the season. Only 16 games left, all of them in SEC play. No more cupcakes on the schedule. We'll see how the Horns fare. All right, that'll do it for today's show. If you made it this far, number 1, God bless you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, share, rate 5 stars, leave a comment, all of those great things. Can't thank y'all enough for your continued support of Locked On Longhorns. Plenty more portal conversation. We've been doing 2-a-days on this show because of everything that's been going on. Hopefully some positive updates to talk about. I got a hunch we will be getting some positive news from the portal throughout the course of the day. Keep it here. This is your Texas football transfer portal headquarters. So make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on so you always know when we release new content. But that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.